Welcome everybody to the first episode of the West Coast Flagrancy podcast. I am your host, David Juarez. I've got Rick to my left-hand side. Say hello, Rick.
How's it going?
Grinch, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, like I said, it just didn't catch. Like, I saw the trailer and I was just like, I remember correctly. I was just like, this is not to me.
I don't know. Sometimes the trailers don't
they
do
were
justice
talking
to it.
about whether to pull the trigger on something, right? And it's like there's casualties there or whatever.
That's like every.
Not the
Is that a different one?
first one. I don't think so. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes movie trailers don't really do them justice, and that's kind of annoying. But I don't remember that one in particular. The one that stands out to me the most is for Inglourious Bastards, which I love that movie. But when it was being advertised, the way that it was being shown was like it was just like a World War II, more action-y kind of film. But then when I went to see it in theaters and I saw it for the midnight release, it was like, you know how it is, subtitles and it's a lot of reading, a lot of live dialogue, which I like, but it's not what I was prepared for a 12 o'clock screening. And so after like an hour or so, I started kind of nodding off a little bit, and I was a little upset until I rewatched it and realized, no, actually, this is a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Yeah.
Yes, Benicio
Like
del
most
Toro.
of Quentin Tarantino stuff, man.
Oh yeah, Quentin Tarantino, Inglourious Bastards. That movie is fun to watch because there's just really good scenes in it. That scene.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz is fucking incredible, man.
Shit. I know. I love the opening scene where he interrogates that family. Fuck, that shit is
Yeah.
good. That scene where they're in the bar, and I forgot the actor's name. The guy who plays Magneto in the new X-Men movies. When
Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender when he throws up
Yeah.
the Third
Three.
Reich. Yeah, and that fool got caught up. I was like, late, and then everybody just got fucking shot up in the
No,
bar.
3 whiskeys. That's
Three
what he said.
whiskeys. Oh yes, and he
Schnapps.
Schnapps.
Jesus, keeps changing.
And he didn't use the proper Third Reich symbol.
I kept forgetting to look into that because apparently, that sort of is a thing. Because like I know for my family, there are certain things that we would do, as far as like hand gestures that would you could sort of describe as like people from this kind of territory sort of like do it like in this way.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to kind of look into that and be like, oh, if the Germans are like, if the way that they hold up like the number 3 by hand would be like the thumb, index finger, middle finger, like that's how they do it.
Right.
And so it would be weird to see somebody do it like the pinky, ring, and middle finger instead.
Yeah, it'd be like he said, an American thing, or he fucked up. That's how he caught him. I thought that was funny. Yeah, that's like the little nuances that people do when you're like part of a high level club. People know when you're not with them.
Yeah, like if you're not like part of our immediate circle, it makes it. There's just certain things you can do that make it pretty clear that you're an outsider.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught that way.
What's wrong, Rick?
What?
Did you have breakfast this morning?
I didn't.
You didn't have breakfast this morning?
No.
That's unfortunate.
I don't even eat breakfast. Do you eat breakfast every day, or?
No, but
Yeah,
I
do
think it's important. Yeah.
Why?
I disagree. I heard this conversation between some other people. Actually, there was a doctor, and she was the one that said they brought it up like, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. No, it isn't, because it's not.
Explain.
And that's how. That's
Explain.
how I felt about it initially, and then she just sort of backed up what I was saying, which her words, paraphrasing here, is if you're not hungry, don't eat. That's as simple as that.
Don't eat.
Yeah, so like I'm not hungry in the mornings. Like I'm good like with a cup of coffee and like a bottle of water or whatever. And I'm good to go. There's no point in me force feeding myself just because it's supposed to be, quote unquote most important meal of the day. Why? just because you just woke up, so you have to like stuff something in your stupid face. You know what I mean?
I don't think
I
you're.
don't.
It's because you have to start the day right, man. You can't just.
If you're but if you're not hungry, then why would you eat? It's pointless.
That's a good way to look at it, right? Don't eat unless you're hungry.
Yeah.
But the only reason I think breakfast is important, right, is because your body should be hungry when you wake up.
Says
And
who?
it says our natural circadian rhythm, right? What I mean by that is
We
like
are not cavemen anymore. All right.
I know
Maybe it was
that.
something else.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're for sure right. That's a good point to make too. That we're different kinds of humans now. We live in the city. We wake up when our alarm tells us, not when the sun does. But I think it's important to like not eat a couple hours before you go to bed, because that does help your metabolic system better process food otherwise that would otherwise be sitting in your stomach until the next. I'm sorry, I gotta.
This is about
Poppycock. Yeah, it doesn't just sit in your system. Your body is still using the nutrients from the food that you ate. It's taking longer to what's the word? It's taking longer to digest because your body is moving at a slower. Not your body itself, but like everything else is moving at a slower pace.
Well, yeah. There's it's important because if you're eating a couple hours before you go to bed, you're gonna have this issue where your body is not only digesting it, but you've got all that fluid, that stomach acid and fluid in your stomach, and if you're laying down, that stomach acid can get into your esophagus lining or the edge of where your stomach and esophagus meet. I'm serious. This is true.
Yeah, but who's sleeping on their back?
No regular people, right? Who sleeps on their?
You sleep on your back? I sleep on my side.
It depends. You know what I'm saying? We can get into sleep, but yeah, I don't know if I'm sleeping on my back. It's normally because like maybe I'm like super tired and my eyes and I just fall asleep on my back. But otherwise, I'd probably fall asleep on my side. But yeah, that's why I think it's important that you don't eat a couple hours before you go to bed, and if you do wake up,
which is not the
look,
the argument. Oh, it was about why is breakfast important.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why it makes it
not.
important, because when you wake up, your body will naturally be hungry.
But
And-
like he just said, especially if you do stuff your face a couple
No.
hours before you go to and you shouldn't be. That's the thing that, especially in America, that's a huge thing where it's like we have to eat for some, like all the time for some reason. When you go to a restaurant, there's big portions. Like, well, I have to finish everything that's in front of me. It's like, why not eat just till you're full, and then the next time you eat is when you are hungry.
If I may.
I'm listening.
If I may. The argument that all Americans have to eat all the time, I really hate that. It's so annoying, and I'm really sick of hearing it. 'Cause
please explain.
I just hear this from like a lot of just different people, and it's usually Americans arguing about Americans, which is something ridiculous in itself. But yesterday I saw a video about like there was somebody in Europe interviewing Europeans, and they were like, "Oh, what's the first thing you think about when you think Americans?" The first thing that they were saying was not fat, which is usually people's go-to. It was loud, which is fine, not really that bad of a thing. Loud, but friendly, optimistic, things like that. So then it's kind of annoying whenever to hear like Americans talking about Americans saying like, "Oh, you're fat and all you do is eat," and like shit like that. That's not true, because I know for myself, all of my friends, with the exception of one or two that Rick knows, we're not thinking about eating all the time. That's not my main priority. So it's annoying to constantly hear all the time, and I don't like to be put into that group of people where it's like, oh, just eat all the time. It's so stupid.
No, look, you gotta relax with that, because I am proud to be an American, and I am against motherfuckers who stuff their face. Like, I may not be in the best shape myself, as much as I love food, But that's just that's an issue with Americans, that we have no self control.
Again, with this, I thought, why are you speaking French? I thought we were in America. You speak English generally.
Nah, no self control, no self control.
We-
We
The
oh
week.
that's a good one. I didn't catch that. Look, look you. That's a good. Sorry, I'm a little. I'm like trying. My brain is catching up to the rest of the day. Such a beautiful day out, by the way. If I kind of want to jump in the pool.
Rub that in, why don't you?
I know, dude. You're more than welcome, dude. If you want to make that chicken here, dude, I got a barbecue grill. I got a sauna, and all that stuff. Anyways,
Damn, you living it up.
I feel it doesn't feel like it. Yeah, so I don't agree with that Americans are just. I do agree with part of that. Some Americans do just stuff their face, and I for
No,
one.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
I'm not speaking on behalf of like all Americans. I'm just
No,
saying,
for sure.
You know, yeah.
But when people say Americans, they're also not speaking
For
everyone.
everyone else. Still
They're
though,
not saying
But that's the
all
thing.
Americans.
When every time there are these kinds of interviews, everybody always takes what they were saying out of context. So they will take the most negative thing and be like, "What do you think about Americans? Oh, they're all fat. They come over here. They just eat everything, just fat, lazy, fast food, just the regular run of the mill nonsense." Like, sure, I'm sure that is a good number of people, but it's not all of them. It's just it gets, after a while, it's kind of annoying to just hear that over and over. You know what I mean? I'm gonna refill my coffee, by the way, just so you know. Now I'm not getting another pig trough full of food. I'm just gonna refill my coffee real quick.
Look, you as an American, Grinch, actually we don't know where you're from. You're from a different planet, if anything.
Somebody drew me.
You're well, not today. Today you drew yourself, right? You don't. I mean, you come from. Where do you come from, actually?
Oh Jesus!
What's that place called? I don't remember the name.
The imagination.
Nah, I said Whoville. You're a snowflake.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the animation.
Yeah, 'cause, I couldn't remember, but yeah. Americans have issues with eating and not having self-control. High fructose corn syrup is a big issue. Not getting enough vitamins and shit. But yeah, breakfast is important because it just helps with your metabolism, right? Eating in the morning gets your.
As you're saying that,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard the same
people
argument.
have to actually look at the video because even as you say that, you're just like
I'm looking
smiling.
at-
It's almost like yeah,
It's because I'm guilty of
some
not.
bullshit out there.
I'm guilty of not eating breakfast all the time, and I really think
It's not a guilt thing. It's not like
There's nothing wrong with
It-
not.
you can be.
No.
Yes, if you have conviction about the way you should be living your life, and you're not living your life that way, you're gonna feel guilty because you feel like you're not living up to that level of
Hold on.
care.
Here's the thing about eating in the morning, because I've heard the same argument. You want to jumpstart your metabolism. What I've been told is, if you want to do that in the morning, then as soon as you wake up in the morning, you drink an ice cold cup of water, and that'll jumpstart your metabolism, as opposed to just eating whatever breakfast foods you want to have in the morning.
I think like a good steak in the morning works, some protein, because it takes longer to digest, and so you'll be fuller longer throughout the day. And that being just my opinion, people prefer oatmeal, something light in the morning, just to get up and go out the door. But if I were sticking to a breakfast regimen, I'd wake up and make myself something high in protein, really low in fat. And
Oh, you're not trying to be keto, huh?
I fuck whatever that means, because
Oh.
I don't even know what that means. Keto. Like, why are people making up new diets? Like,
Well, it's actually pretty effective.
Yeah, it's not a new like making up new diets.
I'll be honest. I thought it was something that they started doing recently because I heard about it. When I say
Well, no,
recently,
well, I mean, you could bunch it in with like those ridiculous, designer diseases like being allergic to peanuts or whatever whenever that started. So you can throw it in with that sort of trend of like new things coming out.
Yes.
But the key thing is low carb, or rather no carbon, no sugar diet, and it actually does it does work pretty well, because I have a friend of mine who in I want to say 2018 I was living in Massachusetts for like 9 months, and before I left he's always been, you know, a heavier set fellow, and I left for that time, and when I came back he was like a completely other person, because he was on this diet with his girlfriend, and they both like looked like amazing, and I was shocked. And literally like one of the first things I said when I went to see him the first time, I was like, oh shit, I can actually put my arms around you. You know, it was really crazy. And
that's what's up. Were you like sorry, yeah,
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, were you really happy for him, like in that sense that
yeah, no, I really was, and it was shock when I saw him, and you know, I was happy because I mean, I don't think anybody really is not going to be friends with somebody because of their weight, because that's fucking ridiculous. But still, you know, I was happy for him to see him like holy shit, like, one of my best friends lost this weight. Obviously he's feeling better, and he's more healthy and stuff. And yeah, it was just nice to see him in that shape.
That's good, man. I've turned into a bit of an advocate for health and fitness, and I say that lightly because I think it's mad important for people to keep their exercise levels up. I think it's important to make sure that you're eating your regular caloric intake, right? Like if you're working out, then you know you must be eating a certain amount to keep up that energy, and then just don't eat more than what you're working out. I would say, to keep it simple, because I like eating whatever I want. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not the most healthy person, but I'll do my best to stay active at least 3 out of the 7 days in the week. And when I say active, I mean like physical activity. Oh, we lost. Did we lose Rick? Where'd he go?
Yeah, looks like he's out of here.
Oh, hold on. Let's give him a second.
I don't think he was liking what we were talking about. Maybe he felt self-conscious.
I know, because he's getting fat. Oh man, dude, how is do you only have class Monday, Wednesday? I mean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or what?
Monday through Thursday right now, but September is the fall semester, so I'm gonna have a new schedule.
Oh, okay. And how are you? How is that going? I mean, I know with everything not being allowed to be done in person, has anything changed about the second semester? Like any updates on?
Oh no, I'm in my third semester, dude. It was like the first semester was like a. Now it just seems like it was a dream, because we're actually in class and like, you know, working with other people, and then it was like 3/4 of the way through that semester where they started doing this online classes. And you know, I mean, at first it's fine because it's kind of new, so you know, you're working out the kinks and everyone's understanding and all. Then it's still.
I'm listening.
I mean, towards the end, you're kind of like, all right, I'm kind of this is annoying, and then to have to do it, you know, fucking 2 more semesters after that, it's like I'm over it, man. You know. And I don't blame the school or the people or anything. It's really because of the virus, obviously, but it's really, you know, you're just fed up with doing the online classes.
Are you disappointed, man, that like, you know, you're not going to be able to get the full, especially what you paid for, right? Because you can't network as well, right, as you could in person, and like everyone that you know. Have you like? Do you what do your like parents think of this? Like you pursuing acting?
I think probably like most people, they're not happy about it. So.
Really?
That's really pretty much it. Do you know anybody who decided? Well, you're from here, so it's probably different.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I see from the outside looking in, when people are like, "Oh, I came to LA to um, be like an actor or something," and I just didn't get that. Like people come all the way over here because me growing up here, and I'm sure Rick can sort of attest to this. I didn't really see like that scene. Maybe not until I got a little bit older, where people were trying to pursue this dream career in La La Land. I'll put it like that. And I'm not saying that like everybody who comes here for the dream to be like an actor and stuff is gonna fail, but your chances are like less than becoming a comedian. Not less. I'm tripping. That's bad because becoming a comedian is like it's like really the percentages are really low. But no, it just doesn't seem like that. Like on the outside looking in, growing up here,
I
that
think I can argue the same thing for being like a really successful actor.
true, and that's really quote unquote successful, really successful, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like Rick, what do you think? You think having grown up in LA like kind of motivated you to follow that dream job because you lived in such a essentially LA being like a really wealthy city. Do you think that sort of inspired you in any way to pursue something that may have been?
You can't just look at it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take away from Rick if he's going to say anything, but I don't think you should just look at it as just because just because you're from like a rich city. That doesn't really motivate everyone to try to be the best that they can in their field.
Rick?
Well, it depends because
Depends on what?
Well, if you let me finish,
Sorry.
I'll tell you what it depends on. It depends on what your dream job is, because you're looking at it from like, oh, well, being from LA. Because me and you have always said it, and I've said it to multiple people. Like, I don't get the big deal about coming to LA and trying to be an actor, actress, or in showbiz or anything like that because we were surrounded so much by it. But then again, my dream job wasn't to be an actor, actress, or be in show business. So it had no effect on me living here on what my dream job would be. That's what it depends on.
It depends on like what you want your dream job to be. And well, yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously your dream job could be like to want to be an astronaut, but the steps to doing that are like long and extraneous and not exactly like something you can do overnight.
I don't think there's being a successful actor, actress is also not, in my opinion, maybe people look at it differently, but it's not an overnight thing either.
It could be.
Or not. Yes and no. I mean, you're forgetting about a few factors here. I mean, just because you finish shooting a movie, that doesn't mean it's immediately released. There's also the really long process of editing. Yeah. And then it has to be put out to the public, and then there's the press beforehand, during, and then how everyone else receives the movie, like whether they like it or not.
Hey, yeah, because like Rick said, being surrounded by it all, it didn't seem to impact us in the way that people who come from the Midwest, right, predominantly to live in the city. What it is, it's like you're surrounded by people who grew up here. I would say, like, I'm sure Rick maybe can agree to this. It's like we don't see the big deal. We're just people who really enjoy our town because it's got a lot. In a sense, there's a lot of opportunity here, but a lot of the opportunity is, I want to say, there's like gatekeepers, right? I guess that's the right word. And those gatekeepers really turn out to be like toxic people who are only looking to let people in who are going to sort of raise the tides for them, right? And then there's really no, I mean, this is one thing you gotta learn, and I only know this because I happen to follow a very prominent pundit who keeps up with the industry, and it's show business, not show friends, right? Like that's something for sure you got to remember in here in Hollywood, because as you can see right now with the pandemic, unfortunately, something that has affected everybody on all levels. You've got production companies, you've got third party companies that work for production companies that now are going to need extra guidelines and precautions to just do anything. So it doesn't matter whether or not you were really good friends with a production company, or you have buddies who work in the trailer business. You know, if every level of production is halted, nobody cares whether or not you're out of a job, because now everybody's trying to scratch their own backs.
Yeah, yes and no, but I mean, I sort of disagree on that, because I think what's really standard.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck,
Sorry.
I lost my. I forgot I was gonna the terminology, but like what's I guess what you can say is like what really stands the test of time as far as like a phrase goes is it's all about who you know and not what you know.
That's the
So, I
only
mean,
point I think that I would have said in that.
yeah.
In that,
So
what
like
you said is like, oh, it doesn't matter. People don't care who you like, whether you were friends or like it kind of does, because if you know someone that can get you in who has, you know,
maybe who is one like the gatekeepers, for example.
yeah, then
Right.
you're set. So it does
Well,
matter
that
about
makes
who
you.
you know and how well you are
Mhm.
with those people.
It's like I said,
Mhm.
right? Those gatekeepers look for people who are ready to raise the tide. Um, but the game is changing, right? The game being how much fame can you accrue, right, over a certain period of time, because fame has become like a bit of a currency, in my opinion. It's not my original idea, but I heard somebody talk about this. The idea that fame now is kind of like a commodity, right? If like you can just sling your dick around, and motherfuckers will be like, "Damn, that guy's got a big dick. Like we should hire him." Um, that essentially is becoming a thing. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it's a
But
regular thing.
as far as making movies goes, that's always sort of been what helps push projects, because if you have a
Mhm.
big name like tied to the title,
Yeah.
that's gonna guarantee some sort of success with it.
Yeah. Not unless you're Tom Hanks, or am I?
I was thinking about Tom Hanks. No, yeah, it's funny because like if a movie has Tom Hanks in the title, I'm more inclined to see it. Be like, oh, well, what's this about? You know?
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, that's a good point actually. The big name thing, uh, but I think now less and less it's happening, right? I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just me where I'm not impressed by big name unless it's Keanu Reeves. Well, even then, no, I don't. I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna say that. Like, yeah, I don't really.
So then, how do you determine if you want to watch something or not?
How do I determine if I want to watch something or not? I determine it a
Yeah,
lot
that's
by.
what
I determine it a lot by reviews, user review, like other people.
Oh, that's horrible.
yeah,
That's
that
terrible.
really
You
is
can't
a.
do
Like you have
that.
to recommend me a good movie.
Oh, I will recommend you good movies all day and night, and I don't even know what the ratings are by people because I enjoy them. So like I could give a fuck about that's like tailoring your life around internet comments.
Okay, that's yeah, that'd be dangerous. No, but essentially, like, if somebody recommends me a movie, um, I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's worth a watch because they told me. Now I have a taste. I don't exactly have
Okay,
a
sorry.
special. Uh huh.
I just thought of this, and I don't want to
No, go
lose
ahead.
this. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Uh huh. Of course,
Did you like it?
I did. I thought it was
Right.
okay. Yeah,
Well,
I liked it. Yeah.
okay, but you liked it though.
Yeah, I did.
Would
Uh-huh.
you all right? Would you discourage someone from ever watching it?
You know what? No, I wouldn't. I would not. No, I think it's.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So with that, all right, it came when it was released. I hadn't seen it yet because of work or whatever was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so a friend of mine saw it before I did, and I'm pretty I'm pretty big Quentin Tarantino fan myself. So I think anything that he's gonna put out, I'm gonna see it anyway, so that I have my own opinion about it. So my friend went and saw it, and he told me about it, and he was like he hated. Well, maybe he didn't hate it, but he didn't like it, and he did try to discourage me from seeing. He's like, don't waste your time, don't bother. It's like it's however long it is, like 2.5 hours or almost 3 hours long. It's a waste. Don't just don't even bother. And I told him, I'm like, No, you're part of the problem because I want to have my own opinion about it. So I'm
Yeah.
still gonna go and see it,
Yeah.
and then whether I
Yeah.
like it or not, I'll tell you. And
Yeah.
then I'm glad I did because now I fucking own it and I've seen it at least like 4 or 5 times. I mean, I really enjoy it. Brad Pitt and Leo fucking killed it in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree, dude. I think I do agree that when people tell me to not do something because their their opinion is based on what others told him about it, or her, I think that's when I'm like, you know what, I'm more inclined to watch it because I've turned recently. I would say I don't want to say like I've always been like this, but just fully going through something and formulating like my opinion on it. Like before, it was more of like, oh, I heard something from somebody, and I kind of just I looked into it, but I didn't like do all my due diligence. So my opinion is like bare bones, right? It's like I don't know.
That's kind of what you're doing when you look at reviews. It's like you look at reviews, you're not really, watching the movie or seeing whether like giving it a try. You're just
Uh-huh.
like, well, the reviews are bad, so unless I get a good
What?
recommendation, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna watch this.
What's the exception though? When somebody is just like, I'm not watching this movie. Like you're just not gonna. You don't want to waste your time watching a movie.
But that's on your personal, like what you think is gonna come out. Actually, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, and me and Grinch have talked about it, where he's like, you
Son
should
of a
watch it or
bitch.
whatever. It's a recommendation. I haven't watched it.
It still
In
hasn't.
my
All right. Well, obviously, it still hasn't worked. So why I don't get why my code isn't working for you. It's weird.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, he tried to
Share it with you. Uh huh.
but for it. Yeah, but it didn't work. Because that was the only time I was gonna watch it. But it's just I haven't gone out of my way just because it's not like I'm not a big fan of them, because I am. I'm a big fan of Brad and Leo.
Are you guys drinking?
My
buddies?
just in my gut feeling, I'm just like, I might not like this, and I don't. In
What about it
with
is
you many times,
discouraging,
you
in your opinion?
told me about
Never mind.
what's that? I always forget the damn Parasite.
Yes.
Remember how you
Right.
were on and
Thanks, yeah.
on and on about Parasite, and I told you I was like, I just have a feeling I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Ah, you're one of those, huh?
He is.
That
He is
was-
one of those Grinch. He is one of those.
No, no,
Grinch.
no. I was talking about you. 'Cause
Me?
I haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't seen Parasite either. But there have been a few people who are like, "Oh, you got to see it."
You gotta see it and stuff like that. And it's like but you have a specific taste in music, and well, it's music, but like movies that or anything really. Like if you tell me a restaurant, me and you have gone back and forth about restaurants because oh no, it's fire though, and I'm like, no, it's not.
We know,
Because-
but Grinch knows why though.
Yeah,
Grinch knows why. Continue. Sorry, I didn't want to. I didn't want to interrupt. Sorry.
See, knows why about what?
Why we have disagreements over restaurants? Because you like plain food, and it's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
That's not
not a bad
necessarily
thing.
true.
No,
That I
you're right.
like
You're right. It's not
plain
necessarily.
food.
You're right. It's not
There's,
necessarily
like-
true. But you'd prefer something you're more plainly comfortable with, if I can put that in the right words. You're more comfortable
You know
with something.
No,
that
like what? Like what wouldn't I go?
you would. Okay. You wouldn't like go out of your way to get something you have not tried before, right? You probably wouldn't. You'd
I
be
wouldn't
less
go
like-
out my way. What I'm saying
Right,
is we
yeah.
have disagreed on restaurants that we both tried.
Right. We have.
That's
Right.
that's different from me going out of my way to like if you tell me this Indian place is good,
Mhm.
right? And I'm telling you no,
Indian
it's
food,
trash, even though I don't
Yeah.
usually do that. Like that's if I haven't tried it, I'm just not gonna say anything about it. I'm just like, no, I haven't tried it. I kind of don't want to try
I mean,
it.
but that's what you would. That's the normal response. Yes.
You've gone to the same
I really
place.
think
You come out saying, "Oh, it's really good," and I'm like, "But it's not," because to me, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
yeah,
it's all
that's
about
fine,
that
yeah.
one person and how they wanna. But I feel like you should still, like, I wouldn't have known something is not good. if
you're
I didn't
underselling
try
your
it.
reaction though, because we spent some time together in Virginia, and I tried to take you to this one restaurant, and then you said no, I've never tried it. I don't want to go there. And I was like, oh,
Which
let's
one?
just give it a try. I forget the name.
Then it
But
didn't happen.
No, it
'Cause
happened.
I
And
feel
I'm
like
trying
this
to
is
tell
just a
you, if you
lie
stop cutting
trying
me off,
to
I'd finish
put
my
on
story. And you got so upset with me
smear
because I was like,
campaign.
dude, you're gonna like. You spat in my face, literally spat in my face.
What
And I
is
was like, dude,
happening?
what the fuck?
I've never
Yeah, it
seen
was
Rick like
insane.
this.
I'm
I
trying to
was
think of
shocked at
what
his
place.
reaction.
I don't remember what. Yeah.
Some parts of the story may have been exaggerated for dramatic effect, like most of the story.
If
But
you tell me
you
what
know, it's
place,
just
like what kind of place, then I'll tell you why. But
I made the whole thing up. I thought it'd be funny.
Shit, you should have kept going. That shit was good. I was like, what the fuck, Rick? How
Yeah,
dare
I
you?
I saw by the reaction in your face. I said he's literally spit in my face. Like what?
I was surprised. I was like, this man. Ugh, I thought I knew him.
You know what's funny? I have been curious about this because I guess being the only white person here, and I hear it all the time. I find it hilarious because I know people of other ethnicities who don't season their food. So I just want to know where the hell that came from. Outside of back in the day, the English or whoever, like they would just like boil everything, which is not good. But I am curious as to like where that whole idea came from that white people don't season their food. It's ridiculous.
That's funny. White people don't season their food. Look, let me tell you where that came from.
Let me. I just want to add to that just a little bit. So I had a phone call with a friend recently, who she was or is rather. She's still Korean. That hasn't stopped. So she's Korean.
She's race fluid. She changes race.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, you can do that now.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
But she's currently still Korean, and she was dating a white guy. And we were all friends or whatever, so we had a FaceTime call, and he was like, "Dude, what's going on in your seasoning cabinet or whatever, something like that." And I was like, "Oh shit, dude!" And I put my controller down, and walked over to the kitchen, and I was like, I had like all this shit, like seasoning for days, basically. And he's like, "Oh, that's funny. You know what she's got? And what? Salt. That's it." And then that kind of like made like. I wasn't angry, but it was just like kind of funny. Like my own reaction was just like, I think it's just hilarious how everyone always accuses white people of not seasoning their food and shit, and then here you go, somebody completely different, and they don't fucking have anything in there at all.
I think it constitutes like culture because Hispanics grow up in a household. Well, if you grew up in a household, have cuisine that's just part of like just part of the culture. Like you grow up eating tortilla, rice, beans, usually the only thing in the house, and if there is protein in the house like chicken or red meat, it'd be on special occasions, but other than that you'd end up getting some form of soup.
Hold on.
Right?
What do you mean special occasions? Because
Well,
you're saying that you weren't having some kind of protein every day?
no, of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not getting this really nice plate of food all the time. Like Hispanic parents.
Well, I don't know who is, but I mean, from my end, just to keep this fun little game going. I won't say exactly where it's from, but I am from. So how you guys have rice? Our thing is potatoes, and I love potatoes. They're awesome.
Idaho potatoes, love them.
Oh no, I don't. I wouldn't know where exactly they get them, but I can guarantee you they're not waiting to get a shipment from Idaho for them. I'm pretty sure they were locally grown.
There's a lot you can do with potatoes. Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like nobody's just boiling a potato and eating it. Although I'm sure somebody is, but
yeah. Yeah, no, it's just like that thing. Why people don't season their food. That's gotta be like.
Funny.
I think it's funny because it's like a running meme, right? Like the idea that white people just have no like they're just not aware of creating something.
Yeah, like basically they just have no palate. So
there you go. Okay, there you go. That's what I was looking for. They have no palate. Yeah, See, that's the thing. Like, I think it's just a matter of culture. Because people would salt everything, right, to preserve things. Because they didn't have fridges, so everything would just be covered in salt, right, to be preserved.
Yeah, which I believe started in Europe.
Right, and I mean, if European Caucasians were doing that, maybe that's where that came from. Until obviously we started mingling with Indians. I mean, East India Trading Company. They brought over all these kinds of different spices and stuff. That's why Indian food is big in the UK, right? Uh, yeah, so I think that's where that comes from. I don't think there's like anything sinister behind them not seasoning their food, because what white people cuisine is there really? Like what? Give me a good.
Boatloads. I mean, I don't know if you want to.
No, go ahead. Tell me. Tell us.
It's really it varies from different countries, but if you're just talking like white people in general,
All right,
for
white
example,
Americans.
Oh, I'm not. I'm an American now, but I wasn't born here. So like the things that traditional American households would eat, like
right, when you were born on
childhood and
Mars,
stuff.
yeah.
I don't know about that stuff. So like, was it casseroles and shit like that? I've never had a casserole in my childhood days
interesting.
ever.
Right, yeah. Uh-huh.
So like, I don't even. Once somebody told me what it was, and somebody like I saw a picture of a green bean casserole. I was like, that looks disgusting.
Yeah.
Why the hell would I want that?
I don't know about casserole. Have you had casserole before, Rick? No, yeah, I don't think I've had a casserole either.
What's the other thing? Like a meatloaf, American style meatloaf, which actually I think is pretty good, depending on who makes it.
Yeah, you know what? I don't.
But I had
like
meatloaf as well. Like I didn't have that until like later on, with like ketchup on the top and all that. And well, actually, that's all that they throw on top. I don't know what else is there. Pancakes.
Pancakes?
I guess everybody has their own, like, because we have our own kind of. It's not even really. It's not pancakes, but it's like a sweet batter that you make on a skillet, but it's not as thick. You know what I'm talking about? They're called blintzes in English.
I'm not familiar with that.
Or crepes, rather. I think that's
the
French call.
Crepes.
Yeah, crepes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like really thick.
So like that. Yeah. So like we have the same thing, except for as much as I know, it's not a French style of thing. It's just the way that we do it. And then you put
You guys took it from the French?
No. For as far as anybody knows, the French took it from us. I don't have the history on crepes or anything, but on hand. But yeah, you know, that was one of the regular things that we'd have. Like that's the kind of a morning thing that they would do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My mom would whip it up. It was pretty awesome. Good times. Sometimes, not every day.
I feel you. Yeah, crepes are delicious. What about you, Rick? You have a preference for cuisine?
I don't think so. Oh, that's what it was? It was preference of cuisine?
No. That's not.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, we were talking about why white people don't season their food.
See, like you're perpetuating it right now by saying that.
No,
yeah.
I'm trying.
We were trying to get to the root.
I was trying to get to the root, but a matter of cuisine.
I don't think we ever will.
No, we never will. No, unless.
I just still think it's funny that's still going on.
It's because
it's a stereotype. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's a stereotype that happens to be true.
I mean, I disagree, but okay.
But then again, it's like it depends, right? Because me and you have had that conversation, Grinch, and you were always like, I don't know where they get this stuff from. Yeah, but that's because you season your food.
Right.
So it's different. Like that would be, you know, if they said all Hispanics wear something like a sombrero, and it's like, well, no, because I didn't grow up wearing that, so it must not be true.
Well,
it's
a
like,
sombrero is a Mexican thing, and you're not Mexican, so obviously.
Well,
okay, so you did.
I mean, I'm familiar with them, but I didn't grow up.
But you didn't wear it, right? Okay.
I mean, I've worn one, but I'm not like saying that I grew up wearing
you
one.
You went to school like you were in the ranch.
I mean,
but
no.
What was pretty much in the culture at the time.
And you can't wear a sombrero without a poncho.
Correct.
And going to school on a donkey.
You guys said that at the same time. I believe they call it a burro.
A burro, yeah. There you go. You see, Grinch, you're more cultured than this fool.
Oh, the one that didn't say anything. Don't attack me. Don't put this like.
The internet is already attacking you. They're looking at you like.
They're not attacking me. First of all,
look at the comments. They're looking. They're like, why is Rick acting like this? Why is he being so stereotypical? Look at him.
You are by saying
hey,
stereotypes are true.
Hey, don't scream at me, because then the comment section is gonna come after you and be like, why are they screaming at the host and stuff like that. I don't want to.
A host, yeah, a racist host.
That's a racist host.
That's what a racist host. No, go ahead.
No, yeah. But let's go ahead and move on, guys. What else we got on today's agenda?
well, the stereotype was going into Yale being racist.
Oh yeah, let's get into that.
I don't get how. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I don't know, open it up.
Here,
Because I have a few questions.
Yeah, I got
I
you.
softballed it for you. I softballed it to you.
Yeah,
Eesh.
okay.
And
There
you
you go.
completely.
He dropped
First
it?
of all, you're supposed to hit it, not.
Oh.
So that's how I know you.
I have never played. Yeah. Okay.
Never played softball. Get out of here.
Oh, you know what? Okay, that's a. I don't want to lie. In PE, we like touched on all kinds of sports. Yeah, I've played
How
softball.
great is dodgeball? How is
Um,
that not the best game as a kid ever?
as a kid, yes. As a grown adult,
Oh no, even as a grown, as an adult, it's still fun. I mean,
It's so fun.
we played it in the Marine Corps, right?
Really?
And also, yeah, I played it in high school. So like so we had in my school we had instead of like regular PE, there was weight training, which I
Mhm.
think is kind of normal. Yeah. So I had weight training. So what we would do is during it was like we had 2.5 hour blocks. So for the first basically like hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, we'd be working out, and then the rest of the like 45 minutes or whatever is drop my phone is just he would just like let us go outside, whatever, play basketball or do whatever. So me and my buddies kind of just started playing dodgeball just because I don't know, we were animals or whatever was going on, and they didn't have any dodgeballs at the time, so we just kind of used whatever we had. So we would start using like a basketball or a soccer ball.
a
Football
pistol.
was in there, here and there, just because it's fun, and it's a pretty inclusive game. I mean, anybody was always able to join, but if you're out first, you can't really blame anyone else but yourself for that.
Now that you talk about it does sound like a bit of fun to play. I mean, how many do you
It's a
need?
lot of fun.
Like at
Lets
least.
out aggression. It's good cardiovascular system. It's
Yeah,
hand-eye
that-
coordination.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Grinch, for derailing us and going off on a tangent.
That's what I do.
Take a bow. So look, look. So we're talking about race and discrimination. Yale discriminated by race in undergraduate admissions. Justice Department says federal officials give university 2 weeks to agree to adjust practices or face lawsuit after probe finds white Asian American applicants rejected based on race. Now, for everyone listening, Asians are the ones above white people in terms of income, income inequality. Like and I think that just has to do with their culture. Like they have this whole culture based around like working hard, going to school, being prideful in your accomplishments and stuff like that.
Well,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't say that's just an Asian thing to grow up around. It's not really just necessarily only the Asian culture that does that. I think that most people are like that. Take pride in their own work. At least, no, I think most people are like that. Take pride in their own work and obviously try to work hard. And those that have ambition and goals obviously work hard to achieve that. So I don't think it should just be kind of classified to just Asian people. I mean, really, you can say that about anyone just that's working hard, regardless of their ethnicity.
Yeah, you're right. It does. I don't necessarily think that everybody grows up in a home where you should be proud of working hard, because if you're surrounded by people who are not working hard and not necessarily I would say, moving forward in life, or at least vertically, then there might be some issues there. But with Asian Americans, I mean, you see they dominate, the higher income, brackets, essentially. And you hear people complain that it's white people, especially in our times. I don't
You
know.
mean like in the business world? Like
Yeah, I mean,
Asians are killing it, basically.
I mean, what do you think, Rick? You think you grew up in a prideful home to be proud of your accomplishments and work hard, go to school and do all of those kinds of things?
tough question. I don't know.
Do you think your upbringings affected your opportunities to pursue further education?
Like, what do you mean? Like, because
Your upbringing, like
I
the
didn't
way you
have
grew up.
money, so
No, well, if whatever the case, like if you grew up happy, sad, or broke, or stupid, or whatever, like, do you feel like
stupid might be the one.
stupid might be the one?
Yeah.
Elaborate.
There's not much to elaborate on stupid. If I'm stupid, I'm not gonna go to
But look
further
at, but
education.
clearly you're doing well for yourself. So if it were the case of you being stupid, you probably wouldn't be on.
Because not everybody has, like, everybody has their talents in different areas.
Sure, sure, people got talents in different areas, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those talents pay off. I mean, are
That's
you?
what I'm saying. I'm not saying that those pay off or anything. It's we all have our different talents, and it's like you think about a drug dealer, and some successful ones. They have the business keen, but they just choose, or because of how they grew up, this is kind of the only way they use those talents.
I don't think being a drug dealer is a talent.
You don't think selling is a talent?
No, I think that's a skill. I think there's a difference, right? I think there's a difference
Oh,
between,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I
talk
don't,
about that. All right.
I don't think
Because you guys, I think, yeah, I guess talent associated with like either artistic or
Some kind of creative endeavor, right?
creative. Yeah.
You were saying, Grinch?
Well, I don't know if saying like a super successful drug dealer maybe has like misplaced motivations to say, because if you took like do you think like Pablo Escobar would have like really done well in the corporate world?
That's
He's
a good,
not. I'm not the biggest. I wouldn't even, because I would never say fan. I would never say I was a fan of his, because he definitely does have some, but he's not somebody who I know a lot about his own personal history. But I don't think he actually did he achieve, like, go to college or anything?
No, he didn't go to college.
He started pretty young, which aside from the drug dealer, I think that's pretty good. It's good to be ambitious, but to say something like, just because you were successful in one field, I don't think that would actually necessarily translate to maybe getting like, a high position in the corporate world.
Well,
I don't know how we got there.
well, if you're
Because you said like, oh, if you have like a super successful drug dealer, like maybe he would, because he can.
No, I never said he would achieve something better if he was on that side. What I'm saying is that was shouldn't use talent, it's skill set. Let's just say skill set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own areas where they thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
And what they choose to do with that skill set sometimes has to do with the opportunities that they were faced with, or just really what they choose to do with what they're given. Sometimes it's the product of the environment, sometimes it's not.
But what happens when you're naturally performing at a level that is competitive, right? Competitive being that.
But at what? What are you talking about?
Right. Competitive in the sense that you're trying to get into a school, right? Yale being the subject of that, of this competitiveness, and you're at a level where a bunch of other people are just as smart as you, all trying to get in, but you're being rejected because you're in a bracket of people who perform just as well as you did, but are not allowed to won't allow to be admitted because
your ethnicity.
Right, because of your ethnicity, because you're expected to score in a certain bracket, right? And in that bracket, only so many will get in, right? Solely based on your race, right? Isn't that what affirmative action is? Right? Are you guys familiar with that?
I've heard the term. I'm not 100% on it, but this is something that's been going on for a long time. It's not
Right?
like,
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's been going on for a long time. Yes.
Yeah, they have like a certain number of whatever white people that they let in, and black people, and Asian, and Hispanic, and
Is
all
that
over the store.
yeah? Is that not racist?
You could look at it both ways, because in one way, you're bringing in all different cultures, but for whatever reason they want to, for reasons I can't imagine, have a cap on however many of certain ethnicity they're going to let in for this, opening semester, or however the hell it works.
I think
Personally,
that,
I don't get that. Yeah, I think whoever is the smart, or whoever tests the highest and everything should be the ones that get let in. Shouldn't really matter what race you are.
Well, the people who would disagree with that are gonna say, well, if the majority of people in the school are Asian, right? Why are there no blacks, Hispanics? And the case made against them would be like, oh well, they're discriminating against other races. They're not allowing them in.
But you should be able to see the problem here, that just because, like, you shouldn't also be able to get in just because you're a certain ethnicity. Like, if this is a mostly Asian school, and somebody looks at it and says, hey, we've got too many Asians, we've got to let somebody else in here. Now you're sort of letting your standards slip, because you just want to have this perception of being inclusive of everything. But now with like Yale's standards, like being an Ivy League school, it wouldn't get to that point. Obviously, I'm being very extreme here, but letting in people who don't test as high, that's going to affect the overall idea of what the school is.
Right. So you think they should be they should be held to a standard that you either meet or you don't, right? Like,
yeah, it's that cut and dry. I mean, if you're trying to get into an Ivy League school, you should be testing at this rate, and if you don't, then you didn't make the cut. Hey, try harder and apply next semester, or however, whenever you can.
I do agree with that statement, that there needs to be that level of like competitiveness. Like, there's going to be winners and losers, and it will suck if all we see is a certain demographic thrive, right, over another demographic, and have people say that's not fair, that's racist, and you guys are being anti-inclusive. You're only letting a certain amount of people. You're only letting a group of people in, and and then they dominate that space, and then people wonder why they do. And I think again, it's a matter of like where your work ethic lies, on top of not only your work ethic, because like you said, it's an Ivy League school. It's obvious that the people who are trying to get in are not just your average students, right? People who are striving for more are gonna work harder, or if not just as hard as the people who are sitting next to them trying to apply to the same Ivy League school. Something like Yale.
I mean, that being said, it's not necessarily saying that others in different, not fields, but like, I don't think just because you're working really hard to get into an Ivy League school, that doesn't necessarily make you the best person. I mean, somebody else could be working just as hard, if not harder, something else. Maybe a kid has like a part-time job that he's really interested in, or maybe the career field that he particularly is, after, doesn't necessarily require a degree from an Ivy League school.
That's a good segue into having a conversation about, can you be successful without college? Like, are we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's all right. I was just gonna say, like, are we entering? I'm gonna use the word era, because we definitely are on the precipice of a technological era, where people now have access to information that was once behind a paywall or a library card. We essentially have supercomputers in our pocket. But what are your thoughts, Rick, on that? Like, being successful without higher education?
It can be done.
Of course it can be done. Of course it can be done. No
That
doubt.
was the question. Yeah, it can be done.
No, but I'd like you to elaborate on what it is that someone who, let's say you're fresh out of high school, and you go back in time and you're talking to your old self and you're like, hey, look, you can go to college or you can take the route that I took, right? Would you sit and explain to your old self like, hey, look, what you obviously with what you know now, would you explain to him that you can still live your life this way, or you can choose to take this path and live a different comfortable life? I would say comfortable, because I know that there are people who don't like that. They don't like using that term. They're like, oh, you're comfortable with the way you live, like that's it, like that's all there is to life, like you're just gonna 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, but I just want you to elaborate, if you could, on you going back to meet your older self and telling him what you know now about being successful without higher education.
Like explaining what. So, I mean, if I was to go back in time, I would not waste my time doing that. But since we're not talking about that, we're just talking about what I tell them about, college or being successful. I don't think I'd be talking about that because I don't know. I'm comfortable, and I didn't finish school.
Finish school? What does that mean? Finish school? Like, are you saying you didn't?
Well, I've gone to college. I just didn't. I didn't finish it.
Well, sure. I know because right. Because
I was like, I don't. It's not interesting to me. That's the reason why I didn't go, because it wasn't interesting to me. However, I still have in my mind. I still have, like, not really a need, but I would want to go back and finish. And the only reason is. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons is it is easier, I think, when you have higher education to get your foot in the door than it is without.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you know people, and it always, like, show business is a very good example of what we were talking about earlier. It's like, unless you know people, it's hard. I don't think I would have been, like, I would have the job I have now if I would have applied with it without having a degree, without me knowing anybody there. But because I did know people there, it was different. So I don't know if I would be like, yeah, you need to go to college. No, you don't. I think that would be like I probably would do the same thing that I'm doing now.
So you're saying you're not even sure? You're not sure whether or not you would have been successful or not, whether or not you took...
I don't, because success is, I think, it's a matter of perspective to what you feel is successful.
Right. And do you feel like you've reached a certain level of success?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. That's my personal view on what I want to do in the future.
Interesting. Okay.
But I mean, success can go from people saying, I have food, I have a roof over my head, my family's taken care of. That's success to some people. For other people, it's like, I want to have this amount of money. To others, it's like, I want to have this amount of fame. I want to have this amount of land, or it just depends what your definition of success is.
Okay. Yeah. So it does. Yeah. People tend to move that line of success as to anybody who's doing better than them, right? And I think I think there's like a good and bad to that. When you're looking at somebody who you think is more successful than you. That being said, do you have an idea of what your success looks like, Rick?
I don't.
You don't have an idea of what your success looks like?
I don't.
And what?
But I think a certain amount of successes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear right what you said right before that success part.
I don't limit.
Like
the cap. Like, I'm not like, once I make this much, it'll be I'll be successful, or like if I do this, I'll be successful. I think my mind is like, I can do more, I'll do more. I don't think success is, to me, I think it's in my view, for me.
Yeah,
Personally.
I mean that's called ambition, and that's really great. It's a great thing. To
Yeah,
have.
and again, but it goes back to what you think
Yeah,
is successful.
because I've had the unfortunate conversation with somebody who I talked to about this sort of subject about like their future, and I was like, "Is there anything else like you're gonna do?" Because he does have that sort of not 9 to 5, but that's basically it's like the 8 hour work day or whatever, and then just Monday through Friday. And I said to him like, "Is this what's next for you?" And he said, "No, I'm pretty good here. I'm gonna stick with this company." And I was like, "That's all you want? Like you don't want anything else? I mean, you're kind of just living a sort of regular, basic life." And and he was fine with it. No dreams of having a fancy car or anything like that. He was just happy with where he was. And personally, for me, I'm like, that's it's sort of boring, I mean, to have zero ambition and no hobbies or anything to really help propel you in like a direction that would make you more successful, and I was shocked when I found that out, because I thought everybody, because being an immigrant, it's like, I think you're raised with this sort of mentality where you have to work and you have to sort of be better than the next guy to be successful. So for me, it was kind of surprising to hear somebody who's basically dormant and is not really trying to go for anything any higher or anything like that. And it was, I don't know, it was weird to hear that.
To hear that someone, yeah.
To hear that somebody has no ambition. It's like, no, I did that and now I'm here and that's it.
Wouldn't that constitute him wouldn't that be him being like, doesn't he consider himself successful then?
I don't know if success would be the right word, but happy. I know he's happy, and which is great for him, but I guess being a friend of his, I expect things from my friends in a good way, because I want them to be obviously successful and happy. But I don't know. Again, it's just weird for me to hear somebody with like no ambition for anything. And we sort of spoke about hobbies and interests and stuff like that, and he was like, no, I did. I don't want to out him or whatever. So he's like, I did this one thing, which is something I wanted to do from childhood. It was nothing major by most people's standards. Did that, and then is now in the world with his regular job, and he doesn't really care. He's not shooting for anything higher at all. It's just really weird for me.
Have you known him a long time?
A while, yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I get that sentiment that you want your friends to. You don't want to see your friends fall behind you, right? You feel like if you move forward, and your friends are still in the same place. I mean, I guess it depends on how close you are, right? Because it wouldn't really matter how successful you are, if your friend works at a Walmart and you grow up to be...
yeah, it's nothing like that. It's not like, if he was working at Walmart and I reached a level of success, it's not like I would drop him as a friend. I mean, obviously we'd still be buddies, but don't shake your head over there. I see.
It's, what, it's because that's what it sounds like.
If that's what it sounds
whole,
like,
it does, like, well, maybe the way David said it about like fall behind, but that's right, falling behind only because your finish line of success is, you might be running a marathon while their line of success is only like
a sprint. Yeah, a sprint.
And if they finish theirs, if they're in their eyes they're successful and happy, but you're like, you could do more. To them, they've reached success, and to you, you're like, oh, well, they're falling behind.
Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, I didn't mean, if that's how it sounded, I didn't mean it to sound like that. I mean, not falling behind, but reaching.
No, it's probably just the way when David said that. That's not what I shook my head, because it's not like you would do that.
No, as long as we can both agree that David hears the problem, then I think.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Okay, yeah, we're just making.
Yeah.
All right,
After
cool.
the whole racist thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really showing
Yeah.
another side of
Very
David
clear.
today, and
Yeah,
I don't know if I like it.
yeah, no, because it's not to say that you want to leave your friends behind, or that you would, but it's like you
Oh, I've
said,
definitely got certain friends that listen. I got no problem.
dropping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
If you're not, I mean, if you're not helping, even if you don't have to necessarily be helping, but if you're not supporting, or if you're not there for your friends, or if you're only just being negative and
Mhm.
trying to just dang, I don't know, I'm losing it today. But
That's
if you're not
okay.
support, not that you necessarily have to be supporting your friends, but if most if not all of what you're doing is kind of shitting on what they're trying to do or become, then I mean, are you really a friend, or are you just some asshole who's jealous that doesn't have your own dreams and ambitions?
you know what?
So it's like people
Mhm.
like that who are kind of like okay with how things are for them. That's fine, but don't try to hinder me from pursuing my dream or trying to do what I want to do.
Okay, I see what
If
you're
that's the
saying.
kind of person you are, yeah, like if that's the kind of person you are, whether you're making however much that you're comfortable with,
Mhm.
and I have another friend who works at Walmart who obviously is not going to make as much, but he's still being cool and saying, hey dude, follow your dreams, that's awesome, this and that. I'm going to be friends with the guy that's working at Walmart if I'm a millionaire or not, because this is a good friend. But the guy who's doing pretty well in his field is
Mhm.
just kind of shitting on my ideas, and that I'll drop him in a heartbeat for sure.
Um, it's like you mentioned with your buddy, who you were surprised to see that had no ambition to move forward, in game.
Mm-hmm.
Not move forward, right? Because that would imply that
No,
he.
honestly, that's exactly what it sounds like. He's not trying to move forward,
Mhm.
and and he's happy with where he is.
Would you consider yourself that friend who, um, we're talking about how we want better, we want the best for our friends, um, but when Rick mentioned that, it kind of sort of came off as like, I want my friend to do more. If not, why am I still surrounding myself with this person? And obviously that's not how I'm sure it is with you guys, because I'm sure he's a nice person, and he treats you like a friend does, right? He's not telling you,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like, why are you being so ambitious? Like, why are you shooting for the stars if you're just gonna crash and burn? um, I'm sure he's not like that, because if he's comfortable where he's at, maybe he's had like an epiphany about realizing that his life, he doesn't have, I guess, yeah, ambition, dreams, or something, like the want more out of, the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, right? Because you're right, it can get boring, and I think it's dangerous. I don't think humans were meant to sit in an office all day. Like, I think that some of us were meant to get up and go.
Things like that. It's kind of hard. That's kind of. I'm not using 2020 because I've already expressed my feelings about using the year that it is as an excuse for whatever. But what I mean is, I don't think that's kind of a tired excuse too. Humans aren't meant to do this and this and that. You can say it about literally almost anything now. Even with hunting, humans weren't meant to hunt with weapons, right?
I
They weren't meant to fucking
I would disagree.
kill with rifles and things like that. So I just certain I don't know, certain phrases kind of are just really, I feel like, tired now. So like, yeah,
mhm.
maybe initially, yeah, humans weren't meant to work in an office from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, whatever. But listen, that's the reality that it is right now. Like, that's some people's life. There's no change in it, unless you either get a promotion, which requires you to either move around or work more hours. But just keep continuously saying people aren't meant to work from 9 to 5. It's like, I mean, how many more times are we going to say that about everything?
Yeah, I see what you're saying about the tired phrase thing. I only brought that up, that idea that humans not being comfortable with that 9 to 5. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think you can live a perfectly fine, comfortable life, working 9 to 5, getting your paycheck, going home. You've got your 401k, you've got your health plan, your dental insurance, whatever, anything you have, your life insurance, everything that that the company that you work at is taking care of you. Hopefully, right? That's not the case for everybody. But again, like, I think that for sure you can be successful without college, but I think the road to a certain level of success is going to be filled with, like, or it should be filled with massive failures. I think, in my opinion, because with the college education that I have, I see the value in it, because I was skeptical at first because I wasn't a big fan of school, not because I didn't enjoy going, I just didn't enjoy doing the homework. But again, like, I think that there's a huge value in going, because not only do you meet people, but what they should be doing at college, which I don't think they do anymore, is they should be challenging you, right, mentally, right, to have these paradigm shifts about the world, because you grow up with your parents up until what, you're like 18, 20, right? Some people, lately it's been, people are still living at home, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But once you leave home and you see what the real world is like,
Yeah, but college isn't the real world.
I agree with that. College is not the real world, because they don't teach you. That's why I think that they should be more challenging in the way that they test students, not test like paper wise, but with their ideas, right? Like, they're not helping students understand that the world is filled with more than two kinds of people, right? It's not an easy world, and it's a really ugly one at times, but things are so much better than they are ever. And
Are they though?
Yes.
Not according to media coverage, because from what it would appear is that most, if not all, colleges are just blankets of a safe space for kids who can't handle the real world.
That, I agree partially with that. I do think that universities have become safe spaces for people to not challenge their ideas, right? People are like,
yeah, it's really fucking annoying.
It is true. It is annoying because we can't have these conversations that adults have, right? Like what is an adult conversation, right? Like, when you're getting ready to tell your, an adult conversation would be like when you're telling your teenage children, or they're getting ready to learn about sexual education or something like that, right? That's an adult conversation. An adult conversation about, like, there only being two genders, right? And the idea that, transgenders fall in this category of, like, well, you're no longer a man, you identify as a woman, you're no longer a woman, you identify as a man, and then the semantics, right? Like, oh, now that I'm a woman, can I compete in women's division, right? Those are conversations that we're not having anymore, because I don't know why or where this came from, but colleges all of a sudden,
really got away from me.
Colleges are starting to fucking teach things that are not true, right? You've got gender studies, you've got women's studies. I'm not saying that their arguments are not based in something that could be true, but they're elaborating on these subjects where anything good that happened to your group was a decision made by white men in power. Like, that's what they're, like, implying and teaching in these courses that I think are dangerous.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. That there's nothing good that came out of their group identity, because every decision that was made for them, up until the point that they became autonomous, was made by white men in power.
Right.
And I disagree with that. I don't think that's true. But yeah, again, without going off on that, you can. I think you can, right? I think you can be successful without college. It's just, the road might be a little bit tougher, and that's fine. I think that, like, you learn something from that, right? You got to pay your dues.
But both roads should be. I mean, just because you went to college doesn't mean you won't. Your
You're not guaranteed success.
Yeah,
just 'cause you went to
your
college.
path
It depends on
you know,
what
to success is not filled with failures.
No, look, what's happening is that there are not enough people failing in college, right? And when I say that, I don't mean like grades. I mean like we're not.
But you're now saying that that's the responsibility of the college, which school is about a curriculum and making sure that the information that they're supposed to teach for their field is in, you know, the student gets it. You
I'm
give
sorry,
them
what
the
do you mean?
information. You give them, like, it's almost, you can do it about any school, really. High school is the same thing.
No,
Giving you, oh, it's not the same thing.
no.
They're not teaching you information and then testing you to see if you got the information that they taught.
Okay, that's what school does. That's what schools should be doing, right?
Yeah, because you're saying college is responsible for teaching you what the real world is like, which
It
is
should
almost
be.
like
No, so
parents kind of.
well, that's what the parents should be
responsibility.
doing, right? It is a
Correct. So you're
responsibility.
just
of parents.
shifting it. Well, this institution should be the one telling you how the real life.
Yes, yes, I do think there is a certain level of responsibility, bro. Because think
But
about
why?
it. Why? Because if you're okay, when you're young and naive, you make stupid decisions because you're young and naive, right? Because you don't know any better. But when you're an adult, right, and you do know better, and you're making mistakes because you know better, what are you doing there? Are you an idiot, or are you insane because you're doing the same thing over and over, and you're not getting a different result?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying that with colleges, they should be teaching you what the real world is like, because when you're young and naive, you're making mistakes because you're naive. You don't know any better, right? Essentially, if you're even up until the age of 25, you're still relatively young, because the real world is not the way that colleges, in my opinion, at the moment, are telling you how it is. They're skewing the reality of how things work, in my opinion, right? Because
Hang on. I'm sorry. I gotta stop you right there. Here's the thing. 25, still young, absolutely. 26, 27, 28, 30, you're still young.
correct. I do agree with that, but I think that there's this.
You're not in school that long.
You can.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, you can be.
It doesn't
Like
mean
a-
you're not a young man.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Or-
Yeah,
or
That's
young
not what I'm
individual,
saying. I'm not
whatever.
saying because you're not in school, you're not young. What I'm saying is you're saying, well, when you're young, you make mistakes. Absolutely.
That's part of
Even
growing up.
after college, you're gonna be making mistakes. That's how we
Yeah,
learn.
that's
So
part
it's
of,
not
part
like
of growing
you're
up, and
in
it's part of
school
life.
all the way through your young years. No, you get out of school. Most people that go right after high school, which is about 17 to 18 when they graduate,
Mhm.
they go straight into college.
Mhm.
Then you do the 4-year program. That's
You're 21.
That's gonna take you to
Yeah, you're 21. Yeah.
22.
Yeah.
You still have a lot to go. Like, you have to make mistakes. You want to learn about the real world? Make mistakes in the real world. Like, I don't know why we're blaming the college for not.
Because
like,
college,
saying-
because if you're leaving home from high school and you're going to college and everything is still catered to you, where you're in the safe area, you leave college, obviously, look, again, not
But in
necessarily.
what safe area are you talking about? What to you is a safe area?
I think that the thing is that colleges they're not challenging everyone's ideas anymore. Nobody's being challenged. They're just saying, yeah, that's the right way of thinking. That's fine. They're saying they're going down to every, not literally, but what they're doing is just passing everyone along with their ideas of how things should be, whether it's society, in work or whatever. And nobody's telling them, no, that's not okay. This is how things work in this company, for example.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know if you're picking
No,
up.
I get what you're saying.
David gets it. But
An example,
I don't know.
unfortunately, I think the universities have not been doing a good job of again, giving you that thought shift where it's like, okay, not only do I see the issue here, but I see the much bigger issue. I see the
But do you
macro.
mean that the university should be up to it, or should
You have something to say, Rick? What were you
in
gonna
the
say?
university should be?
I'm
'cause
letting
I
him
think-
finish his thought. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Uh,
Richard.
so are you saying that it should be up to the university to bring this thought shift, or should it be down to the people that are attending the university that should be sharing ideas and challenging each other in this aspect?
I think it's more of the latter, right? Where the people who come in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's I'm seeing it the same way with Grinch, and that's what I was saying from the beginning. It's all these. So you're saying it's the university's job to be like having this discussion and stuff, but I think the issue that you run into there is that, just like you said, oh well, they're teaching this stuff, and it's like, because once you leave it up to them to push whatever subject they think is important, you're leaving it to the university to now be like have their own agenda.
Mhm.
So for like California, it is a huge issue for us, the homeless thing. However, people may just be going to school for a simple thing,
Right.
where it's like you can get awareness, cool. But if the university is pushing you to be, well, we got to do something about it. You guys need to be aware and need to start getting. Then they're pushing their own agenda on their
Yeah,
students.
no. Then you need to
Which
go to
is
another
like,
college. You need to go
that's
somewhere else.
not really like, if you want, I think the whole challenging idea stuff, I think the best place you're going to get it is among your peers.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there's a huge difference between challenging each other and your ideas and having an idea forced upon you. That's not something I think anyone should be subject to. I mean, a university should not be forcing their agenda, whoever the dean happens to be at the time, and he's like, leading one way on certain issues, and maybe you're just not, you have no knowledge on that issue, and he or she is telling you, their point of view and their perspective and when they think is right and this is what should happen. Like, yeah, that's fine, but you should still be able to challenge them and be like, no, I don't think that, I don't think this, I don't think that way, for example. I think this is what should happen. And instead of that being allowed, now what's happening is they're shutting them down. Now they're saying, no, you're a problem, and whatever, terms we're using now. I don't know.
Yeah. No. That. Yeah. That's that's an issue that I don't necessarily like. Again, like I think it's great. I think it's a good thing to go to college. Like I think that it's never been more accessible than now, right? Going to community college and then making your way to a four-year university. I think it's good. I do think that I do agree in part with you, Rick, that a lot of that thought that thought challenging can come from peers, but I think that comes down to the individual and who they surround themselves with. Because if you're just surrounding yourself, which I think is normal, if you're like in a program where everybody else is doing the same thing you are, you find yourself not in an echo chamber, but like kicking it with people who have the kind of sort of same outlook.
like-minded people.
Mm-hmm, like-minded people. There you go. Right. Yeah, I do think that there are good and bad sides to that, because like you can end up with a.
Well, you do that, I think, in life in general. Once you leave college, you're still going to always surround yourself around people that think like you and are doing kind of basically the same thing. That goes back to the whole goal-oriented thing. Is like you kind of surround yourself around people that want to do more, because it'll kind of motivate you to do more as well.
Unfortunately, sometimes it takes certain people like longer to show their true colors. So like they'll be your buddy and everything is kind of fine and dandy until, I don't know, something switches in their head, or they themselves. I have another friend who is he's like this. He surrounded himself. Everything was fine up until a certain point, and then it's like a light switch in his head because of the people around him have affected his way of thinking. And now he doesn't think as an individual. He has this group mentality, which is like opposite of what I think. And even though we've been friends since childhood, and he has a completely opposite, ideas of pretty much everything, I'm still able to talk with him and have conversations with him, even though he's the one that always gets upset and starts yelling and raising his voice. And that's generally when I say, all right, I'm going to call it a day.
That's not a
But when
good
you
thing.
make new friends, that's usually what you like. You had a pre-existing relationship with him before.
Right, yeah.
But when you make new friends,
right.
you
you're right.
go
Usually
around
when you make new friends, it is with others.
gravitating towards the people that think like you.
Yeah.
No, but
Have you guys heard about this Uber and Lyft leaving Cali? Because this is news to me. I never, and it's kind of shocking. Uber's been pissing me off lately anyway, but I just it leaving altogether is kind of weird.
Here, I'll fill you in. Look, Uber and Lyft lose bid to delay worker reclassification order in California.
Wait, hold on. A little bit slower that one. What was that? Why?
Uber and Lyft lose bid to delay worker reclassification order in California. Right here, let me give you a quick summary. On Monday, California Superior Court Judge Ethan Schulman granted a preliminary injunction forcing Uber and Lyft to reclassify their drivers as employees. This order is set to go into effect August 20th. The judge acknowledged that the order would change the nature of Uber and Lyft's business practices in quote-unquote significant ways, and implementing the injunction would be costly. However, those hardships weren't enough to sway the court from classifying drivers as employees, a decision that would force Uber and Lyft to provide unemployment insurance and other benefits.
Oh, motherfucker! I see what they're doing. So now instead of being independent contractors, now they're fucking employees, and they should be getting
Everything,
whatever regular unemployment benefits for if they get, because you can't, if you get fired from Uber, it's really your own fault. I mean,
because you're a contractor, an independent contractor.
Yeah, I mean, why else? How could you get fired from Uber unless you're being like a shitty Uber driver or something? You know what I mean? I don't. That just feels like California is kind of just shitting on Uber there.
Well, I used to work for DoorDash, right? Essentially, like I delivered food instead of people. And being an independent contractor, obviously, you don't pay any taxes, right? Because you're getting your check untaxed. But there are like a lot of things that come with that, because being an independent contractor essentially means you run your own small business, right? You identify with everything that constitutes that independent contracting service, right? You're using your car as your part of your business. You use X amount of miles, gasoline, maintenance, all that stuff can be like deducted and reported on your taxes. But with this that's been going on for a while, you have people who are making a full-time living driving Uber and Lyft.
Yeah,
but
doing pretty well.
But I think that the company, trying to protect their bottom line, obviously doesn't want to classify them as employees, because that comes with all those different
yeah, because now it's going to cost them God knows how much more to make sure that everyone, that is working for them has these benefits.
Yeah, and I think. Sorry, continue.
I think like part of the attraction for working for these companies is that you're essentially your own boss. You make your own hours. You do whatever you like. You work when you want or when you can, and then that's where it starts and that's where it ends. But once you start this whole thing, now it's a whole another mess of problems.
Yeah, I think that was the fun part about these companies, right? These ride-sharing companies. You can work whenever you want. You can log in, log out. You want to make a little bit extra money on the side. That'd be perfect. But now with that being in place, you're just essentially applying for a job, right? And I think that defeats the purpose of like being that weekend hustler, right? When you just log on to Uber and Lyft. Do you use it a lot? Do you use Uber and Lyft a lot, Grinch?
Not lately, but I can say that when I do use it, I'm not really happy with it anymore. Because when it started, it was, hey, let me get on my app, let me call an Uber, and then it's over there within very short amount of time, 5 minutes, for example. Now what they're doing, which I'm sure has been going on for a while, but is you'll call an Uber, like I'll go to Ralph's, and the only time I'll use an Uber for Ralph's is when, those days where I have a lot of I got to stock up on, water or whatever, heavy items. And now I'm waiting outside of Ralph's to call my Uber, and instead of what used to take, 5 to 10 minutes because, whatever, they're in traffic, whatever. Now what they're doing is accepting jobs when they're not even finished with this one that they're on right now. So now instead of it saying 5 minutes till your Uber arrives, now it's 12 minutes, 15 minutes because the Uber driver hasn't completed or has another stop on the route. Like, what the fuck what's the point of even ordering this? I might as well order a cab.
I mean, I don't know. I disagree with a couple things there. I mean, Rick, what about you? Do you frequent? I know
I
you
don't
have
have
your
my
own
thoughts
car.
about. I don't use Uber or Lyft like that.
Yeah. But what about like the idea that these independent contractors now uh, are well, what California wants to do is, obviously turn them into employees, and well, that comes with a bunch of responsibilities for the people
Yeah, so it's
working.
not. Um,
Because the freedom of, right, I'm gonna play devil's advocate
like
here.
setting your own schedule. Yeah,
Right, yeah, like I think that's
that's
what
the main
was,
attraction.
yeah, and I think that like I do see the other side of, you know, the drivers who are like full time, and they still pay for their own health insurance out of pocket. Any damages or liabilities are on them. Obviously,
To an extent, Uber does take responsibility for damages that
mhm.
are not, yeah, driver's responsibility for.
Okay, yeah, that is true. They do have like some things in place for drivers to sort of resolve an issue, and I get that. Um, but let's say we were all for this, right? Like we want them turned into employees. Like, what are the good things that come out of that, right?
Nothing. I can't even be on that side because I think that ruins the whole part, or at least part of the idea of what Uber or working for these companies is, which is having that freedom. Because now, once you start implementing this new business plan, that it's going to change everything. Absolutely.
So here, like, this is what Assembly Bill number 5, right, says, right, if it gets passed for the drivers. It'd be, the measure says drivers must receive an earnings guarantee of at least 120% of minimum wage while on the job, 30 cents per mile for expenses, a healthcare stipend, occupational accident insurance for on-the-job injuries, protection against discrimination and sexual harassment, and automobile accident and liability insurance. Now,
The only thing that doesn't apply, or that I'm not talking about, is the discrimination thing.
mhm.
But literally everything else is it's a taxi cab. And once
Oh,
you start doing
right.
that,
Interesting.
yeah, and once you start doing that, now they're going to jack up their prices because now they've cornered the market. I mean, essentially, who's using cabs nowadays anyway? It's mostly older people or
Mhm.
people who have seen horrific videos of Uber drivers and Lyft drivers treating them like shit or whatever. So like, I'm going to stick with the cabs now. Now that they have this corner where they're like, all right, we have enough people not trusting cabs, or we have all of the transportation requirements for everybody. Now they're
Mhm.
going to start raising the prices. And now Uber's going to start to be less appealing to someone like me who's already on the fence about it because of these new policies that they have. Is like, now it's like, no, okay, I'll just call a cab now because, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but at least now I know what I'm getting, like, guaranteed. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah. I agree with you because the again, like, Uber and Lyft, yeah, that ride sharing alternative. I have no issue with like ride sharing. Like, if I'm going somewhere and we have to pick somebody else up for like a cheaper ride, I think that's fine with me. I think there are those like
Yeah, that's
upsides to
fine.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you still have the option to like not do that, where you can just pay like $1 or $2 more, and it's Uber X,
Mhm.
and you're by yourself, or you're with your just your group, and that's it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah, and having just a little bit of history in accounting, um, I could see that like for Uber, who shits money at the moment, like even though they're like in debt for, don't exactly remember the number, but anyways, the point is, I can see that for them to have to provide everything for these drivers, the drivers would end up getting the short end of the stick, because it's like you said, they'll just end up becoming cab drivers, right? They'll essentially be showing up to work on a 9 to 5 basis, because as an employee, you don't get that privilege of saying, oh, I'm just going to clock in for a couple of hours. Oh, I'm just going to clock in on Saturdays or something. Now what they're going to do is they're going to probably mandate, if this happens to pass, they're going to mandate that you work X amount of days if you want your X amount of benefits, Right.
Yeah, and also, I'm sorry to step over you, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's also going to be where you have drivers who are fully, capable. Maybe they should or they should not be doing this, but they can drive for 10 to 12 hours, for example, with no
Mm-hmm.
issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to restrict that and say, no, you can only drive for 8 hours.
Correct.
And that's what's safe. After that, you have to take a break. You make all the faces you want, but that's how it was in the Marine Corps. Because I was a driver, and by the book, you're not allowed to drive.
No, I'm not saying, oh, that's ridiculous. No, I mean, if that's a guideline or policy that they want to put in place that kind of makes it safer for people that are using this, then I'd be all for it.
Well,
you think it'll make it safer? Sorry.
No, so what I'm saying is there's no way that they're not going to do that. I'm willing to bet all my money right now that they're absolutely going to have that implemented as well.
That people are not driving that long, it does make it a bit safer.
Some people can drive for 10 hours.
I know, yeah, but that's the other thing too with I'm shooting in the dark here, but without having kind of doing a 9 to 5 job, they interview you, right? They at least they're like, oh, this employee fits all qualifications or whatever. I don't know what Uber's hiring process is. If it's just downloading the app and saying, "Hey, I want to do this."
No, I know that much. I know it's not just like that. Yeah.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. However, I would feel that if you are gonna, if this passes, and if you have to give your employees this amount of benefits and all that, you would want to know who you're hiring a little bit closer.
What do you mean? Like background checks?
I know what you mean, but how much can a big company like that really get to know you? But I know what you mean. They want
not
a little
get
bit
to
more
know. Not every no company
information
gets to
about
know
you
every
make sure
little
you're
person.
to make sure you're not like a psychopathic murderer or whatever. That's an extreme, but that's basically
Because I mean, on Uber, that's why people have had all these I've never had personally. I've had a bad Uber or Lyft driver.
Me either, but outside of the waiting because they're not done with their fucking initial ride, but that's another topic altogether. But I had, the problem with some of these videos and stuff is it's always taken out of context because you don't know what happened before the incidents. Maybe the passenger the whole time was being a dick to the driver, and then they just happen to start recording when the driver starts freaking out on him. Like, no, get the fuck out. I'm sick of you. Because there are some customers, and we have a mutual friend who did ride or who did Uber, and I've had a few other people who did Uber tell me about some of these passengers where, sometimes you make more money at night because people are going out to clubs. Well, this is before the pandemic. They were going out to clubs and doing all this stuff. So a better time to make money would be to do the night shift and take these people home. But, sometimes they're drunk and disorderly or whatever, or, causing trouble. And sometimes they, certain people ridiculously demand certain things like a bottle of water or snacks, which blew my mind when I found that out. But yeah, so whenever they don't have these things, they'll start freaking out and telling the driver that they're a piece of shit. And you're fucking what kind of fucking Uber driver are you? And you're just kind of, dude, this is a basic Uber. Why are you freaking out? Because I don't have water. You're in a Toyota Corolla, dude, and you're going 3 miles. Why are you freaking out over water? But that's once they start getting that ball rolling and you start getting upset at your passenger, that's when they decide to start recording. Oh, this is good shit. Now I'm gonna get this guy. That's usually how these things happen. Nobody's just picking up people and being a piece of shit for no reason. Although, probably. I'm sure there are.
Maybe it does.
There probably are, but, what are you going to do? I'm saying the majority of it is most likely that's not the case.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've never had a bad experience with either of the services. But, I mean, I don't use it anymore, only, because I don't, I have a car and stuff like that. But for the people who do rely on it, for not only income but to get to work, I think that they're just not gonna provide the service here in Cali because it'll be way too expensive for them to.
Yeah, if I was one of the CEOs or however they have the structure over there for Uber, I would be like, all right, yeah, we're pulling out of California, and that's it. I'm sure there aren't any fucking rules to say, hey, if you're gonna do Uber in the U.S., you have to do it in all 50, however many states. It's, you could choose not to do it in California because they have these ridiculous regulations now, or trying to have these ridiculous regulations.
Yeah,
And then just pull out of there and be like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be a good one to keep our eye on, because this would change, because this has happened before with other companies who hire independent contractors, right? The idea that, like, we're done with you, so we're not going to hire you anymore, or like contract you. People
oh man,
people getting dropped.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're trying to bait us into a political conversation.
No.
Brought this up.
No, Microsoft has been guilty of this, where they like have contractors, quality control contractors. They work for a month, and then out of the blue, I mean, like the day before, they'll get an email, be like, "Hey, we no longer need your services," and things like that. This has happened, but I think we've tired this conversation about Uber and Lyft. Obviously, we know that there are positives to drivers having benefits, but the downsides to that is their ability to hustle will be extremely diminished, if not at all diminished. Let's see. We are going on like 2 hours already, guys. That's
way too long.
Man, you watch your mouth. Way too long. Long is better. We technically covered a lot of the topics that we picked up off of from yesterday. I think the only one that we didn't do was the theaters reopening, going outside, and then just a quick quarantine update on how everybody's doing, because we do record this on a weekly basis, for those of you listening. And we'd love to hear how your quarantine is going, because people are trying to go back to normal. People want to go back out. People don't want to
save it.
Yeah, we can save it.
We got 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
it makes it a little bit more special for like a small update like that when it happens a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Not rarely, but a little less frequently.
Yeah. Crick and I were talking about it, like we should throw that in there as a little segment, because I think it's important right now with people being alone. You need to check up on people, see how they're doing.
Oh, thanks for reminding me.
I'm alone too, so I think the three of us are alone. So, sad face, the lonely boys. We should have called the podcast that, the lonely boys.
Yeah, I think when we